today looking at a phenomenon called choice paralysis and how you can avoid it, and in doing so improve the sales and inquiries you get through your website. And the kind of concept is that could you be losing potential sales through your website because your customers can't make a decision? And boldly, yes, you could well be. This presentation is identifying the issue and telling you what you can do for free yourself without needing to pay anybody or expend lots of resources to fix it. Sarah has done a huge amount of research into this subject. She's actually written an ebook on it, which we're going to be publishing soon. So Sarah will be handling 90% of this presentation, and I'm just along for the ride. But we will be looking into some specific examples so you can see how some promotional product distributors are already aware of this problem and managing their websites to alleviate it. If you have any questions, on the right-hand side of the screen, there's a panel which allows you to enter them in. In the interest of kind of keeping the flow going, excuse me, we prefer to come back to these at the end of the session, but please do ask. And I'm going to hand over to Sarah to make a start.
Thank you, Liz. Yeah, so like Liz just mentioned, today's presentation is backed by a lot of scientific data. So I pulled a lot of concepts from social psychologist Sheena Liniger. So she's the author of The Art of Choosing, a Columbia University professor, and she's a leading expert on choice. So I took those concepts that she's developed and applied them specifically to promotional product distributors. So let's get started. Okay, so the age of options. You know, now more than ever, we have an abundance of choices. So, you know, individuals are given choices, and it can drastically influence the outcome of their decisions. Americans, on average, make 70 different choices a day. So if you just stop to think about that, that's a pretty large amount of choices just in everyday life, not even considering if they're making a purchase or shopping. So intuitively, we love to have more options. I mean, who wouldn't prefer to have choose from a list of 5 things over 2? It's just, you know, you always think more is better. So, you know, you feel like the more options you have, the greater your chances are of finding the best choice. It's kind of natural to feel that way. Unfortunately, this is actually an illusion. So this intuitive assumption, it's an illusion. The more options we have, the less likely we are to make a decision at all. So as a business owner, this means, you know, having too many options on your website, for example, can do more harm than good for the consumer perspective. So now we're going to get into the concept of choice paralysis. So it's actually a well-known problem in retail. You may or may not have heard of it, but numerous tests, you know, in supermarkets have shown that if you offer a customer too many varieties, they're less likely to buy than if there were only a few. So although this is sort of common knowledge in the retail industry, a lot of other businesses aren't aware of it, and you know, you think there's no such thing as too many choices, but psychologists, economists will conclude that an overload of too many options can actually paralyze people, and it pushes them into, you know, making a decision that might not be in their best interest and can make them, you know, feel uncomfortable. So what are the consequences of too many choices? So one, engagement. So they tend to procrastinate. They might think that they are interested in something, but then they see another choice that they like or another one, and they end up procrastinating and not following through with the purchase. To the quality. So they make worse choices, which then makes them have buyer's remorse, and they're not feeling confident with the choice that they made. They may want to try to return the item or end up giving a bad review. So 3 would be satisfaction. So they're less happy, you know, with their choice. Even if their decision is objectively better, they may not feel that way. So, you know, research shows that an excess of choice leads us to be less, not more, satisfied once we actually decide. So there's often that nagging feeling that we could have done better. So this is just difficult to properly compare all of the choices. You know, it's fun to look at a lot of them, but how can you really decide which one's best when there's so many ones that are similar to one another? So now we're going to get into some of the common mistakes that, you know, promotional product distributors will make on their websites. It's all too common. You know, we'll see too many products in one category. As you can see on the the little example that I provided, the complex way of customizing products, an overwhelming selection of special offers, and endless categories and subcategories of products. So these are common mistakes that a lot of promotional distributors will make. Despite choice paralysis being well known, most promotional distributors aren't necessarily aware of it.
So I just wanted to show you guys a couple of examples now of the promo websites, how they look now, and how they could look going forward. So this is one of our own customer-focused websites. So hands up here, we're using an example from our own site. This is 279 pages worth of bags and cases, and there's a lot of products on a page. The prospect of searching through 279 pages to find the product I'm looking for is absolutely preposterous. I'm sure you can all agree. And yes, of course, there are filters which allow people to search by color and price and lead time, but still, there's such a high volume of products on this website that I'm always, regardless of what my criteria is, unless it's like frogs in pink, which I can get in 2 days, there's always going to be a surfeit of choices. So we strongly recommend to our distributors that they start to reduce the number of suppliers on their website to give people an easier browsing experience. And I'm just going to show you an example of another of our websites, but in this case, the customer has elected to only show one supplier on their website. It's actually a HIT promo, and HIT have a lot of products in different categories, so it makes life nice and easy. But you can see already I've got 34 pages of products instead of 279. Things are spread out more clearly. My categories are more manageable. Instead of looking at all these subcategories, I'm looking at just a handful. And I already feel calmer, strangely, just looking at this page. I'm not quite as tense about the choice that lies ahead of me. And I just want to show you guys a couple of sites in practice that are doing this very well. Vistaprint. Vistaprint are fairly new entries into the promotional products market. If you search for mugs on their website, you're going to find 52 results. 52. Now you go on your website and look for mugs and see how many you'll find. I guarantee it's going to be more in the region of 3,000. Is that helpful? Is it helpful for your customer? Is it helpful for you? The answer is no, because ultimately, I know it happens an awful lot that that your end user will come to you and say, find this particular mug for me. In that scenario, you need a big database of products to look through. But the average person visiting your website who doesn't have a preconceived idea in mind, they do not want to see 3,000 mugs. They want to see 52 mugs, which are nicely presented, which give me all the information I need, and I can make a decision confident that I'm not missing opportunities. As Sarah said, the problem with having too many choices is that you become anxious that you're making the wrong choice. It's not a pleasant experience. And this is a company in the UK, one of the most successful distributors in the UK, called Outstanding Branding. This is their USB accessories page. I invite you to take a look around their site. It's great. 25 items. And again, you've got to ask yourself, if you did the same search on your own website right now, how many USB accessories would there be? Many thousands. And these guys, Vistaprint and Outstanding Branding, are leading the field in getting online inquiries. Not necessarily online sales. These guys don't even offer e-commerce, but they get dozens and dozens of inquiries because they're making it very easy for somebody to identify the product that might meet their needs. And again, we're not saying, of course, there's going to be the time when somebody comes to you. Happens all the time. People come to you and they want you to find a particular item. In that scenario, a large database is useful. But for the average common and garden person happening across your website and wanting to find the perfect lanyard for an exhibition, it isn't helpful to find 1,000 lanyards. I want to see 50 lanyards and I want to sort them by price and color and lead time, and then I'm happy that I've made a good decision. So back onto the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Yeah, so as she showed you, you need to find that balance between, providing enough options for your customers to feel happy and satisfied, finding what they need, but not to the point where they are feeling overwhelmed. So now we're going to show just an example of why more isn't better. I'm sure you've probably heard of this one, but it's the famous supermarket study where they had jam. So the study showed 3% of shoppers purchased jam when they were confronted with 24 varieties, while 30% purchased more when given only 6. So let's see, 27% approached the jam section with a particular jam in mind, so they knew what they wanted and what to purchase. However, the range of alternatives actually placed doubt in their mind. So those who actually came with an idea of or a preconceived notion of what they wanted ended up not purchasing simply because there was so much variety and they, in fact, became overwhelmed. So the lesson here is that choice paralysis is not just something suffered by those who arrive undecided. It can actually prevent a committed buyer from placing an order. All right, so choice overload. So the key is to make the purchasing process easier for your customers. So this is how you can essentially prevent this choice overload or choice paralysis from taking place when customers are on your website. So number one, you need to cut. So reduce the options and remove the redundant ones. So I know this kind of sounds a little scary, but if you have products that are extremely similar, like to the point where you yourself cannot differentiate the two, that's something you want to cut. Number two, concretization. So relate a decision in terms that mean something. So I'm actually going to touch on this a little bit later and show you an example of how you can do that. Three, you need to categorize. So reduce the objects into categories that mean something to the chooser. So it should be intuitive in a sense. Four, condition for complexity. So you want to gradually increase the complexity of it. I'll show you an example of this in the future slides, but it would mean something like presenting the product first, offering customization and the other add-ons, and then bringing them to the checkout. So just as the photo shows, similar to getting overwhelmed by choices in a store, your customer feels the same way when you offer too many products on your website. And I'm sure we've all had that moment standing in front of a million different choices of wine and thinking, which one do I want?
No, I just go for the cheapest there.
$2 chuck. Okay. Yeah. All right. So reduce the number of choices. I know this is almost sounding redundant, but we're saying reduce the redundant options. So if you can't tell the difference between two products, don't force your customers to choose. So if you're having trouble removing the items, there's a few different things you can do to make things easier for your customer, and we'll get into that. But just as an example, like some companies that did reduce some of their options and found success in it, when Procter & Gamble went from 26 different kinds of Head & Shoulders to 15, they saw an increase in sales by 10%. And when the Golden Cat Corporation got rid of their 10 worst-selling cat litter products, they saw an increase in profits by 87%. So how can this apply to you? If you notice a product that's not selling or hasn't sold in months or years even on your website, is that something that you really want to keep there? Is it worth it?
I know that a lot of the examples we're giving are retail, but I think what we need to appreciate is that the new generation of B2B buyers is looking for a retail type experience. So it's not enough to just say, no, mine's a B2B website, so it doesn't behave like this. That you need to adjust your thinking, because the most effective websites now, the most effective B2B websites are replicating a retail type experience. So this might seem, you might think to yourself, this is all retail content, but it is pertinent to B2B. It's very pertinent to promotional products.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so virtual sampling. If you have a few varieties of a particular product, it's always handy to provide a virtual sample for your customers. So it just allows them to see the product come to life, and it helps to concretize the purchase. So that's something that we noted earlier, concretization, so making it more real for the customer. And here's another example of that. So if you just look at these two different website banners, and what's the difference between them? One is very generic, and it just says, premium in-house embroidery. Whereas the second one, it sort of allows the consumer to put themselves, seeing themselves using the product, wearing the product, or how it can be used. So just things like that can make them feel a little bit more at ease.
Yeah, I always think, I saw a great banner actually on that Outstanding Branding website this morning when I took the, when I was just having a quick look through it, and it basically said, see how we created something like $100,000 worth of leads from I think it's like a power thing, the thing that charges your phone when you've run it. What do you call them? Anyway, yeah. Anyway, but the principle was that they're relating the purchase down to a material gain, and they're relating it down to a real story, a real person, a real event, rather than kind of, as Sarah says, there's something to be, the second banner on that screen is aesthetically pleasing, but I'm not engaging with it. It's not really asking me to do anything. It's not asking me to, I'm not connecting any better with the brand for that particular banner.
Yeah, and you're kind of priming them in a sense. So they're not necessarily aware that they're relating to one of these banners more so than the other, but subconsciously they are seeing themselves, on that golf course wearing that embroidered shirt.
Yeah, it's a great example. That whole principle of priming, where you're subconsciously leading somebody into the decision. I think Sarah's ebook talks about this. It's a very valuable thing you can do, and it's actually not as difficult as you would think. A lot of it you've actually probably got on your website right now, just in the way you're probably doing it intuitively.
Yeah.
But there's things you can make a conscious effort to do that will drive people down that purchasing path because you've laid the groundwork out without them even realizing it.
Yeah, and I think the number one thing we hear from customers is how they can differentiate themselves from competitors or other websites. And these things might sound like, oh, well, how can that really help me? But these are really small steps that you can take that are really going to set you ahead of your competitors and make you stand out. Okay, so going back into the option or the example that Liz showed, limiting the options per row. So a good way to avoid cognitive overload is to ensure that no row contains more than 3 items. Our brains then register the decision-making process as manageable. So, you don't want to look at a website that seems scattered or unorganized. So just take note of the number of items per row and the way the products are categorized.
No, I think you're
perfect. Okay, so suggested items. Providing a default or suggested option is another proven method of helping customers stay focused. So it tells the customer, this item fulfills all of your basic needs and it's sold for a reasonable price, or most of our customers, chose this one. So For Imprint provides different suggested options to help narrow the search for the user.
And I think most promotional websites have got some products on the homepage, but in my experience, most distributors are not actively engaged in selecting those products. They're something that's driven by the default website. So if you've got an ASI or a Sage or even our customer focus website, we do give you the option just to have default products on the homepage that we change periodically. It would be better if you picked those products yourself and genuinely picked out products that you do sell a lot of, that you do have faith in the supplier. And that, as Sarah says, rather than just having it labeled featured products, sell people on the concept. These are our most popular products. These are our top picks for the season. These are our top picks for, I don't know, Christmas 2015. And as I think Sarah's going to go on to in a later slide, it's about social proof as well. If you're implying that these products are popular, people will feel more confident about making that choice because they're not the first person to go down and buy that item.
Yeah. I just love the different categories they have in it. So it's like hot products, products on sale, new ones, and then they also have the star rating. So these are just great things that you can do to help set yourself apart from competitors and to really make the user experience a better one. All right, so social comparison. So this is what Liz and I noted in the last slide, like our most popular products are ... or our top reviewed products are. So if you see this little example on the right, so what are they doing right and what are they doing wrong? So the right thing is that they are suggesting an item, but the wrong thing that they are doing is the wording. It just says related items. That doesn't really speak to the end user. They really want to see a social connection like other popular products, or this is what our users preferred the most, top rated. That kind of allows them to have more of a social relationship, and it just helps to build a better overall user experience. So categorization. So another efficient method is filtering. So this is really going to help with that cognitive overload, just allowing the user to find the product that they're looking for, and having a really great filtering method is key for your website. So this is kind of similar to an in-store, customer service representative telling you, let me know what color and size you need and I'll bring it to you.
So one of the things Sarah mentions on here is consider structuring choices by brand, purpose, or mood. And I think this is impossible if you have 300,000, 500,000, 600,000 websites, products on your website. But it becomes a practical choice if you have, for example, 5,000 products on your website, because you can manually assign, let's say, 50 of those products into a category which is specific and unique to your customers. So, you know, you guys, most of you guys on the call are using us, or you're using Sage, or using ASI, and you might think, well, it's far too much effort to start tinkering with those categories. Again, it is if you've got gazillions of products there, but if you do as we're suggesting and narrow it down, and you know, I know it's a big step, but if you narrow down the products so you've got a more manageable selection and then start thinking more creatively about the category choices, certainly on the customer focused website you can create your own category structure, and I'm pretty sure you can on our competitors as well, and then you can put those products in those categories and provide a more unique experience for your customers. So they're going to, you know, your customers better than anybody. You know who, you know, let's say for example most of your business is done within the utility sector. You want to put the best products for utilities in a category. It almost certainly doesn't exist right now on your website. Create it, put products into it, and you're just going to give people that signpost, which Sarah says, the easiest way of finding the best solution for their needs.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is clearly differentiate between choices. So in this example, you know, they have in their navigating or navigation bar technology and geek. So can you really tell the difference between those two? So you don't fall into the trap of thinking that the need to differentiate products, it only applies to the product line. So it also applies to the navigation and the product categories. So, you know, choice paralysis is not, it doesn't have to just do with the number of choices available. It can be acceptable to offer a large number of choices, you know, where the differences between them is clearly defined. So, but unfortunately, sometimes the choices you offer can have a significant overlap. So that's when having a really good filtering method and navigation bar is going to really help you.
So I think on something like this, you know, just to return to the previous point, you know, if you do deal with industries, healthcare or something like that, just having an option on your website navigation that says industry specialties and has a drop-down menu, for example, healthcare, utilities, professional services, and in those categories you've put together, you know, no more than 50 products that are absolutely specific to that particular industry's requirements. As Sarah says, you're going to be differentiated from the competition, and you're just making their lives easier.
Yeah, so condition for complexity, I think we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but you need to gradually build towards more choices. So you first allow your customer to sort through the categories, filter, select the product, and then customize it with like a virtual sample and to see what it would actually look like in the end experience for them. Live chat. So this is something we actually, if you want to show them ours on our website, it can help if they are at the point where they're not sure of a choice or they're feeling a little uneasy, and they can, you know, immediately contact you. So this is really great for the end user experience.
So in this particular scenario, this shows one of the weaknesses of having live chat. You actually do have to be on the other end of the phone, so to speak. You know, Sarah and I and a couple of other people in our office have live chat installed on our main website, and we probably get 15 or 20 people asking us questions a day. I don't know how or if they would even have bothered of contacting us if that hadn't been available to them. It's a very, very easy way and increasingly popular way of people getting in touch with you. If you're not available to sit there and receive inquiries, and I know that it is going to be a challenge. I've been asked before if we can do it for a customer. I'm like, no, sorry. Then another way of kind of doing this without doing live chat is to put a very easy form on the website. Again, this is just about making things easy for people and removing any anxiety over the potential purchase. On this particular website, I just put a simple form on here saying, ask us about this product. Your name, email address, product code, date needed, and any questions you have about it. And this just sends, again, they're not being asked to place a formal inquiry. They're not being asked to buy. It's just giving them a very easy means of contacting you so they can find out more. And obviously the other way of doing that would be to have a telephone number in the header of the website as well. Again, it's just about making their lives easier in any way you possibly can. All
right, so I'm sure you're all wondering how this is going to help your sales. So configuring your website to be as user-friendly as possible is the key here. So the bottom line for these techniques is that every design you make to reduce choice paralysis should be geared towards closing the sale. So bragging about the size of your inventory is nice, but providing customers with the tools to dig into your product line is the best way to have a healthy bottom line and a happy customer. So your customers need to know within seconds of visiting your website what they can expect from your brand. So highlight the positives of your product, your product line on your landing page, and you need to make navigating to a set list of choices clear. So use the design of your website to suggest the best and most cost-effective choices for your customer, and make the move from options to checkout as streamlined as possible. So, the fewer pages that you have between buy button or the thank you or thank you for inquiring, the better. So just provide a smooth buying experience. It lessens the possibility of distraction or overload. So in summary, less is more. So, these findings might be contrary to what many of us have been conditioned to believe, that an abundance of choice is good for customers and a personal experience, but or it can even lead to greater sales and satisfaction. But, it can be tricky to make a decision, when you're feeling choice paralysis and you're overloaded with options. It even makes it hard to think or, through the short-term and the long-term consequences, and you don't want your customers to feel a buyer's remorse. So, when we face choices, it has a big impact on, our personal lives, our professional lives. As I mentioned earlier, we make over 70 different choices a day. So that's why it's important to, be choosy about choosing and think of it from your customer's perspective.
I must admit, something that amused me on Facebook the other day was somebody had placed a comment about how difficult a supplier's website was to find the product they were looking for, and their website was worse. I just thought it was ironic that it's one thing to kind of complain at a supplier for not having intuitive navigation, but they weren't really the boot on the other foot. The end user experience on their website was just as cluttered and convoluted. So I know this is a challenging concept for people in the promo industry. As Sarah says, it feels counterintuitive, but it's the nice thing is that if you are not currently getting any sales through your website or many inquiries at all, you should try this. You should try it, and what's the worst thing that can happen? You continue to get no inquiries or sales from your website. But let's say that this works, and you start to get more customers and inquiries off the back of it, and Sarah and I believe that it will work, then something just happened and changed your business for the better. And again, if you're not making great strides or getting many inquiries from your website right now, implementing things like live chat, reducing the number of products, putting forms on there which make it super simple for people to contact you. Try these things, see what happens. Worst case scenario is nothing changes. Best case scenario is something does change for the better.
Absolutely.
So we're going to open this up for questions now. We can see we've got quite a few come in already. Okay, so somebody's asked us to look on their specific website. If you don't mind, we'll take that offline and look at it after the event, just because I'm sure people have got other things to do with their day, but we'll come back to that and definitely look at your site and come back to you personally. And somebody's asked if we personally offer a live chat option. We don't, but the customer focused websites can integrate with just about any live chat system out there. So we use something called Live Chat right now, Talk2, TAWK.TO. That's free. I want to switch to it because it looks to me to have 99% of the functionality we need, and it's free. Again, if you can be there, if you can be on the other end of it, I strongly recommend live chat. It is probably doubled our inquiries as soon as we implemented it. So again, if you can be around to answer questions, people love this. I, for one, really, really dislike picking up the phone. I don't think it's a generational thing, but I really, really don't like it. So if my only means of getting more information about this product is to call you, I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna move on.
Do you want to put in the name of that live chat?
I tell you what I'll do is after it's Talk2 is the live chat provider I'd recommend. It's TAWK.TO. But when Sarah and I send the slides out, we'll send out that link. We'll send out the link to that person as well. And another question has come in: Does Customer Focus provide question form capability? Yes, absolutely. One of the kind of underused features features of the customer focused website is the fact that you can build any number of forms for any purpose that you like. So they could be to get customer feedback, they can be to have a very quick and simple have a question form. You can have drop-down menus, you can have logo upload fields, you can have date fields, really, really flexible. Again, anybody who's on this call who's a customer focused user will make sure that we send out that help sheet to you so you can learn how to add those to your site and how to add them to product detail view, so that when somebody's looking on a product and they have a quick question, they can just complete that form rather than going through a more formalized process. So, thank you everybody for your time today. Again, we will send through the slides. We'll send through the slides with our summary of the sort of top 5 things that we think you should try today. Again, if you aren't getting sales and inquiries through your website, you really have nothing to lose. Let's give it a go. We really want to hear back from you.
So keep an eye out for our ebook.
Yes, very much so. Sarah's dug even deeper into this subject and also put in a lot of effort into looking at priming, which again is how you can kind of make subconscious. You can steer your customers subconsciously into the direction you want them to take. Very, very easily, actually. It's quite surprisingly easy how easily you and I are being manipulated when we go on people's websites. But it's something that you guys can do too. So look out for Sarah's ebook, which is going to dig into that subject. And again, the idea is that this is not stuff that's going to cost you money or time or development resources to do. This is stuff you can do yourself and try it and see what happens ultimately.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody.
We really appreciate your time and have a wonderful rest of your day.